Hi, Fashion Dolls. I apologize about my tardiness. It is Fierce Female Friday, August 30th, and welcome to an all-new episode of Style by Stevie. Now, our very special guest today has been featured in films such as Ali, Transporter 2, and That's Living, the Zora Neale Hurston story. Along with Eddie Murphy, he also did Holy Man as well, too. So, here for his second interview, Fashion Dolls, let's welcome back to the Dollhouse, Richard Fitzpatrick. We have officially come to the end of the month of August, and this month flew by so fast. We will be in September. Election is definitely rising up. Things are moving so fast. The momentum in this election has shifted, and I want you guys to also make sure that you are registered to vote. If you are not registered to vote, go to vote.org to make sure that you are set and ready to go for November 5th. We need nothing, no excuses, nothing. Get ready to vote November 5th because our lives and our freedom definitely depend on it. All right? So, let me go ahead and share this live with my very special guest so that we can get him in here. I apologize about my tardiness. I had to upload. You guys know every Friday what happens, and that is the OOTD, which is the outfit of the day, or the look of the week, shall I say. And it's been 4 different looks, so make sure you guys please go and vote, participate. Let me know what you think. Which look was your favorite? Because I gave you guys 4 different looks this week, if I'm not mistaken. Or it could have been more than that. But make sure you guys head on over there and go vote for your favorite look of the week. The month flew by so fast. Okay, so the interview with Madam VP Kamala Harris and Tim Walz on CNN aired yesterday. I thought she and Tim did an amazing job, and it was just like they were feeding off of each other's energy. So, you know, for any presidential candidate and any vice presidential candidate, that there's going to be, you know, a partnership when doing an interview, because you want to get both perspectives. So we'll touch on that a little bit later, hopefully at the end of my interview. But without further ado, our very special guest today is back for his second interview here in the Dollhouse, Fashion Dolls. And I've already ran down some of the credits of his work. So without further ado, let's welcome our very special guest back to the Dollhouse for his second interview with me, Richard Fitzpatrick, ladies and gentlemen. So let me add him in. And hopefully it should work. There we are. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. How are you?
I am doing wonderful. Welcome to the Dollhouse again for our second interview.
Thanks for having me.
Such a pleasure to have you back, TGIF, and we are now at the end of
Of
August. This month
August.
flew by so fast. So,
hmm
how has your August been? Because I think we did our interview. We did our interview this year, but
hmm
my goodness, so much has happened since then. So, how has your August been for you?
August has been August, August has been a month of reflection for me. And uh, well, let me just premise it by saying in July I lost my son. He passed away in July. It was sudden. It
Sorry.
was unexpected, and he was only 38. So you know that kind of I haven't fully processed it yet, but the impact of it and the void that it has left is, you know, we've all
Oh,
been there.
Richard, I am so sorry.
We've all been
You
there,
and your
but
family have my condolences. And then you said 38, I'm 30. So it's personal
wow.
to me because I'm the same age. It could have been me. It could have been anybody in that age bracket.
Yeah,
And it's also personal to me because my sister, I lost a sibling. So I'm
yeah,
pretty sure he has siblings as well too, and that's
absolutely.
also going to take an effect on them. So again, you and your family have my sincerest
Thank
condolences.
you. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
We got a lot of support from, our network, people that I didn't even know were paying attention, and but it also brings up, you ask people, I know I did, and I'm sure others have asked, why wait until someone passes before you check on your people, you know? It was a lesson to me too. I mean, we all get busy, with what they say, life be lifing, you know.
Yes,
But at the same time, life is the most precious gift that you can, that you have. You need to protect it, guard it, and and then get busy with doing the things that you're purposed here to do, because time waits for no one. We started by saying it's already August, and before we blink, this year will be gone. So um, it caused me to reflect, and I've been taking some time off from the industry and from production, and I've entered into some other business ventures, but now I gotta get busy. I've got some projects on slate that I had been, contemplating, kicking off pre-production, but not thinking the timing was right. But who are we to who are we to say when the time's right? We just gotta get out there and do it. And so, going to get busy. I need to get busy and get moving, because tomorrow's not promised.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And it goes back in question to say also, give people their flowers while they're still here,
Yes.
because like you
Yes.
said, tomorrow is not promised, and all it
Mm-hmm.
takes is just one phone call.
Yeah.
All you got to do is pick up the phone and call someone. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why it's imperative. I make it my business to, even with doing this platform right here, I was telling my guests just this week that it's important that we reach out to our family members to see how they're doing.
Yeah.
And my cousin Sherry has been good. We before the pandemic hit, we would always team up and link up and go shopping. And how we linked up, I didn't even know she existed until I met her at the family cookout, because we used to do family cookouts in the country or whatever. And now she's in North Carolina. I'm down here in South Carolina, but we still manage to keep in touch. And she floats around, so she's always driving down here, and she'll text me and say, "Hey, girl, I'm in town. Do you want to link up? Do you want to hang out?" And I just can't do it because my schedule has been crazy with
Right.
these interviews and making sure that my mom is good, and as well as making sure that myself is good.
Mm-hmm.
So not just that, but this election cycle, make sure that I get people registered to vote. So that's important. So it's been a lot, but I still try to make time for family, because that's important and imperative to me as well too.
Absolutely. What have you found with the current environment regarding the election? What's your take on that?
Y'all waiting on it, ain't you? um, I must say this, as a black woman,
Mm-hmm.
I I'm beyond disgusted,
Mm-hmm.
because she's a black woman, and I'm seeing men now, and it's not to you, Richard, but other men, other black men, just doubt the strength of a woman running this country, because for so long the country has been ran by men, from George George Clinton, yeah, yeah, Clinton,
Mm-hmm.
to Bill Clinton. I said George Clinton. I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking about Parliament.
Yeah.
Bill
He
Clinton,
probably would. He
George
probably would have been
Bush, yes, Domingo Mussolini, who's now trying to be a dictator, an autocrat, Donald Trump,
right.
um, Obama, all men. But it's time for a change. It's time for a change. That's how I feel about it. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel that a woman can run this country. And it's not just on, people think, oh, she's going to be emotional. Everybody gets emotional. Who doesn't get emotional? Men get emotional, women get emotional, but they think that, oh, women, is heartbreaking for them. It's going to be listen, you never know until you try.
Mm-hmm.
And so far, people are very hopeful in this election. People are registered, but I said I'm hopeful for now.
Mm-hmm.
But anything could happen from now, because we hear October surprise, and when I think of October surprise, I'm like, oh boy, the worst case scenario can happen. Anything can happen. So
Mm-hmm.
we just been I've really been keeping my eyes glued to the polls, glued to making sure that people get registered,
Gotcha.
making sure that people are checking their information to make sure they're set to go for November 5th. But I feel that they're going to cheat. They're going to try
Oh.
everything possible. They're going to try to overturn. And this now 70 elected officials that have been put in place into all of the swing states to try to not certify the elections. That is raising an alarm
Mm.
in the back of my head.
Right.
Like literally.
Right.
And we've seen them do it in 2020. They're going to try to implement new rules. They're going to try to limit the ballot boxes. They're going to try to do everything possible. So I have been really keeping my eyes glued and centered to what's going on. But
Mm.
I feel that, and people were saying and predicting, she's going to win. She's going to win. And after the cemetery, because I knew you guys were going to ask me about that, as the child of someone who is a military vet who also served in the Navy as well too, because
Mm-hmm.
my brother served in the military, my dad served as well too, and then my uncle served. I know that they are beyond upset and disgusted at what happened at that cemetery, and for y'all to go out here and assault this woman, and
Mm.
then try to say, oh well, it was a mental thing. One of his staff members, Stephen Chung, said that. She can. I wish she would sue y'all.
Mm.
She could definitely sue y'all and win the case.
Mm-hmm.
But she didn't do it because we know how crazy his cult is. We just gonna call a
Right.
spade here. This is
Right.
beyond past MAGA supporters. It's cult. It's a cult. And
Mm-hmm.
I've talked about cults on this platform before. I've talked about Jim Jones. Y'all know about Jim
Mm.
Jones. Y'all know about Waco,
Yep.
Koresh. Y'all know about Charles Manson. And let me go into Charles Manson. These three women that were like, he had something over them that was so powerful. When you were in a cult, everything that cult member tells you, you believe.
Mm-hmm.
So I get you guys' DMs and messages of everything that he's doing. Believe me, I keep an eye on everything that he's been doing. And that's why I've been reporting on it, letting y'all know, like, hey, if you're in Texas, you might want to go ahead and check. Y'all have heard
Mm-hmm.
about the 1 million that they call themselves trying to purge. They didn't want to talk about the people who were just now registering, because now in this election, more than ever, more and more people are registering to vote.
Mm-hmm.
More than ever, the percentage has went up of people saying, hey, they realizing what's at stake. They know about Project 2025. And this is my thoughts on Project 2025 because I've touched on it. Project 2025 is a Christian right wing, white nationalist, fascist, authoritarian agenda. That's what
That's
that
a
is.
lot.
And it's to set us back to the 1800s
Mm.
and to the 1960s, where women, queer people, and us, black people, didn't have a voice.
Mm.
That's what that's for. So when we talk about make America great again, no, scratch that. You can change that G to a W to make
Mm.
America white again. And I'm here to let you know that black people and our contribution to this world, we're not going nowhere. We've
Yeah, that's
seen
a
in
fact.
Florida, they're already banning books on LGBT history. They're wanting to erase that. They're wanting to erase anything that involves critical race theory or what they call quote unquote woke. And we know what you mean by
Mm.
woke, black. So I'm seeing everything that is going on, from y'all overturning policies
Yeah.
that can help people, and to
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
ones out here that are saying, well, he gave us checks. Fact checked. It was Dems in Congress that passed so that those people
Mm-hmm.
could get relief. And as far as the conversation of us getting reparations, I'm seeing a conversation about that as well too. You ain't gonna get it. And I'm gonna quote my girls in Vogue. You're never gonna get it. And I'm gonna tell you why. Until we fix the discord and the disharmony within the black community, and we learn to work together and look past
Yeah.
someone's sexuality and gender identity and their religious beliefs, we ain't get no reparations. Y'all can
Mm.
scratch that.
Mm. Well, you
Yes,
definitely have
we
to have a
rightfully so. We gotta
you
work
have to
together.
have a power base, that is respected, and the only power base is respected is one that affects the gross national product. Um,
Absolutely.
I used to tell people all the time about, there's nothing wrong with protesting. Um, giving voice to your grievance. But protesting is the the it will it will only have an effect when it actually affects the bottom line. Now watch what I'm saying. Okay, so when they were protesting about, civil rights and things of that nature, and they were being locked up, the dogs were being sicked on them, the hoses turned on them, they were getting beat up. But when Rosa Parks refused to go to the back of the bus, and then they boycotted the bus system and started affecting the money, that's when things changed. Because they realized that, look, a nickel is a nickel. It don't matter whose hand it comes from. And it changed. So we control a considerable amount of spending power or capital. I once heard someone said if we were to stop buying fuel for a week, we'd shut this country down. But who's going to do it? If we would boycott, and refuse to buy certain brands, the policies would change because it affects the bottom line. So the protest is simply the exclamation that there's a problem. When you boycott it, that's an exclamation mark for saying change it or else. Every other group that has received reparations or gotten legislation passed, they've established a power base that has been respected. They're like, we take our money and we'll spend it somewhere else. The level of influence always ends up with how you affect the gross domestic product.
Absolutely. And another thing is this: under a dictatorship, you guys do know, as Richard stated, when we talk about protests, see how you guys are able to protest and do what you're
Can't
able
do
to do
that
right now
under a
in this
dictatorship.
current age? Can't do that
No.
under a dictatorship. There are like at least 20 dictators in the United States of America, and there's more and more. We know about Putin. We know about Stalin. We know about Hitler. We know about Mussolini. We know about Kim Jong Un. There's so many more. Saddam Hussein, that's there. Yeah, there's more, and they are by far the worst and the most dangerous. And you can add Trump to that list as well too, because this Agenda Project 2025, who would have thought that they took 922 pages of a monstrosity and put it together in a book to say, hey, we're going to do this, we're going to take away this from you, we're going to take away this from you, and we're going to take away this from you. And to the women out here that are supporting Trump, you do know that you're not on his tax bracket, right? He's rich. He gonna be all right at the end of the day. You do know that as far as health care, and you're in the middle class, that pertains to you too. He gonna cut your rights from you too.
Mm-hmm.
He done already bragged about overturning Roe versus Wade. And the worst case scenario has happened to women where incest in their family and they're forced to keep this child. And right now, as we're doing this show, women across the nation are bleeding out, having to bleed out because of a Trump nationwide abortion ban.
Wow. Well, I think that people are listening, but they're not hearing. They're not hearing, and we can only hope that the results speak for themselves in November. Um, I don't know where we'll end up, but I know if we lean that way, it ain't gonna be good for nobody.
Absolutely not. So the rest of you, we're seeing more and more people jump ship. It's not too late. You have like what, 67 more days left until election.
Mhm.
Make sure that you guys are checking your voter registration. I check mine almost every single day because in South Carolina, I'm in a red state, and homegirl that got on the news and refused to call our hopefully, fingers crossed, future Madam President by her name. She says she wants to call her whatever she wants to call her. She's running in South Carolina down here, Nancy Mace. So we got to beat her too. And it starts all down the ballot. state, local, and
Yeah.
federal. You have to make sure. We need to change Congress as well too, because he's already
Hmm.
got the Supreme Court in his pocket. It's 6-3.
Hmm.
Now, who do you think is going to overrule the three? It's the six. They're already in his pocket. Joe Biden just this week tried to put out something to help cancel out student loan debt. You want to know what the Supreme Court did? They blocked it.
Hmm.
And if y'all out here thinking that some of these black conservatives, oh, they're black, yeah, they're black. But they ain't for us. They not for us, honey. That you can't get
What a
out.
mess. What a mess. What a mess. But hopefully
Yeah,
we'll overcome. We'll overcome it.
absolutely. So I'm hopeful for now. I want you guys to be hopeful for now. She's crushing him in the polls. She said, "Don't worry about it," but I'm keeping an eye on it. Because in the swing states, like I said, they're already gearing up in motion. If their policies don't work, go ahead and cheat. Let's go ahead and cheat. Let's try to work on it and cheat. And that's what they tried to do in 2020 with slowing down and delaying the
Right.
process. Now, they do this. If they refuse to do this, they can be penalized for this legally.
Hmm.
And the Dems have already signed up and putting suing in place and all of these things to make sure that this election is free and
Wow.
fair. So far they're saying that it's tight and close. That scares me because
Oh,
when
yeah.
I think of tight and close, I think of Bush and Al Gore. And either way the pendulum swings, it can go to a Republican either way.
Hmm.
So that's why we have to make sure that we show up and show out in large numbers so big that we blow it out the water for Kamala Harris.
Yeah. Wow.
So yes, if y'all are not registered, you need to go ahead and check your information.
Mm-hmm.
Because I predicted when I did my Juneteenth interview, I did a Juneteenth show with Amiri Thompson, who's an actor from North Carolina. I said they're gonna take away your right to vote. I predicted that that was going to happen. And what is he trying to do now? He said on stage, Christians, get out and vote. I
Mm.
promise you, we'll have it fixed so good,
Never
you'll never vote
have
again
to
in your
vote again.
entire life.
Yeah.
He'll
Yeah.
take away your right. Dictators, you can't vote a dictator out. This is nothing like the 2020 election, y'all. And I need y'all to wake up and understand that. But like Richard said, I'm talking and some of y'all are not listening. But to
Hmm.
my audience, my base that watch me every day, every interview, y'all are listening, y'all are getting it. I put up a poll and I said, which would y'all prefer, dictatorship or democracy? 6 people chose democracy. I didn't even need a whole crowd. People are starting to wake up and become more aware. But we need the ones that are unlikely and uncommitted to come on board.
Yeah.
Now, for some of the Republicans, if you want to too, it's not too late for you to come on board too. If you care about this country, you care about democracy, come on board. It's
Mm.
not too late. And so far, a bunch of Republicans, I think it's like what, 200 signed a letter endorsing Kamala Harris. So that should tell you something. Even his niece and nephew don't even want to vote for him.
Mm.
Wake up, y'all. It's bad, and family knows all your deepest,
Oh,
darkest
for
secrets.
sure.
What
I know
skeletons you got
all the
hidden
skeletons
in the
are.
closet.
Yeah. Yeah.
His sister aired him out in that phone call. Do I need to play that phone call where she said he cheated his way into college? Literally
Mm.
paid somebody to take his college exam for him. She aired him out.
Whew.
So
Mm.
y'all better wake up. Yeah, I got all the facts. Our eyes and ears have been all tapped in and focused on this. He
Yeah.
cannot win. The inevitable will happen if he wins.
Yeah.
Disaster. Y'all know about the Great Depression and Hitler and Adolf Hitler and how bad that was for that economy. Trump will drive this economy in the drain,
Hmm.
down the drain even more. We've seen how he handled a pandemic the 4 years he was in office. So to the ones that are thinking that he's going to be great for the economy, he's not.
Mm. Well, like I said, I hope they wake up because and they respond. You know, um,
Oh, yeah.
this is one of the reasons why you know I love what I do, um, because I can I can tell you something through story that you won't accept face to face.
Mm,
Okay, and and the other beauty about it is if you're watching it in the theater or watching it at home, who you gonna argue with?
exactly.
you got you got to let that marinate, you know. And I think that's one of the reasons why they look to censor or control. If you lose freedom of speech, you've lost it all. And so, when it comes to film and entertainment, it too gives us a platform, and we need to handle it responsibly. You can't shy away from the truth or stick your head in the ground and hope that it'll be all right. And I think that's the problem that we face now. So many people think that, oh, we elected them, they'll handle it. But we have abandoned our responsibility in that it's supposed to be government for the people and by the people. And so when the people step away and say, well, I like him, I like what he has said, and I like his character, so to speak. You're basically opening the door for corruption. Any power unchecked, will ultimately lead to corruption. And so I think that's where we're at now. And there are plenty of films in the past that have warned us of such, dialogue, monologues from films as far back as the 60s, the 50s. Those monologues, if you play them right now, you'd be like, how did they know? No, it's
Prevalent.
not how did they know. It's just the basic nature of man is that man does not learn. And when you don't learn, you're going to repeat the same mistakes over and over again. So I I'm actually contemplating a new project that um it's going to be, you talk about controversy. Oh my gosh. Some of the writing that has taken place thus far, I'm like, can I can I can I really say, can I say that? Can I bring that to bear? But the truth is the truth, and the truth cuts going and coming. So, I'm just going to have to let the hammer, fall where it may. This, I think, is a responsibility that we have as filmmakers. Put it out there. Um, Wake the people up, whether, they want to be or not. It's our responsibility to do so. And two, I want to I want to start a program that helps other filmmakers get their projects to distribution. And me and my team are working on what that will look like. But we want to be able to help with development, pre-production, production, and distribution. But only for those who now listen. This ain't you're gonna have to work. You're gonna have to put some work in. This ain't done for you. This is giving you a blueprint, and then you follow it. Then success is ultimately the key. And getting your project out there and getting it seen is. I used to tell filmmakers all the time. Okay, so you spent a half a million, a million and a half, or better on this film, and it's not, you can't get it distributed. So ultimately what you have is a very expensive home movie, because without distribution, who's going to see it, you know so that's where my head is at now. I want to make an impact by helping others get their projects to production and distribution. But also, I got to get back. I got to get busy. I got to get busy. There are stories that need to be told. There are some things that need to be uncovered. Um, and I think it's our responsibility to do so.
And I say this quote from Nina Simone all the time, and she says this: the job of the artist is to reflect the times. And
Ooh.
so as the artists, it's our job to tell people's stories.
Mm-hmm.
And we have so many people from so many different walks of life, so many different religions, so many different cultures, everybody's different in their own way. So, and what they're trying to do is control us. Oh, one more thing. He said he's also considering jailing journalists. So our
Wow.
job as the host of platforms is to give people the truth. And so he
Mm-hmm.
wants, because he doesn't like being fact checked, he wants to jail journalists. So that's something that he wants to do. So again, it goes back to what Richard just said, which is free speech. People, they can say what they can say on those platforms like Fox News or whatever, but when someone is fact checking, he doesn't like it.
Right.
So if he gets elected, he's going to jail
Mm.
journalists. He's going to jail doctors who administer abortions to women. So that's something too. They have to check in with their pregnancies to them. So yeah. And he also sat up there on that podium. Well, he sat up there with Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil, you should have renewed your psychologist license because it's clearly something wrong with this man. That interview that he did with him was a disaster.
Mm.
Um, and we seen what he said on. I mean, he just says the most astronomical things out of this. I mean, crazy things. Like, he sat up there in front of that podium and said, "Oh, Cheerios, I hadn't had them in a long time." What does that have to do with the price of tea in China? And if not
Uh,
that, then it's about the bird cemetery.
mm.
Like, and then Hannibal Lecter. Like, really, this is who we are wanting to elect as commander in chief. Well, not me, because I never vote for him. I have no intentions of voting for him.
Mm-hmm.
But to the ones out here, that this is who y'all want to be y'all's commander in chief. And then he was like, "Well, it's just too much wind, the windmills." I'm like, "What does that have to do with your policies? Why are you not talking about your policies, my guy? You're talking about the price of Tic Tacs. What are you gonna do?"
Mm.
And we're talking about inflation, and I know that's a concern for everybody about things going up. But what are you gonna do?
Well,
Well, I already know what he's gonna do. He's gonna do tax cuts for the rich. So if you're not rich and you're not in his tax bracket, and you are part of the middle class, working class, you're a content creator, you are an independent filmmaker or whatever, and you're digging in your pockets,
yeah,
that can affect you as well too.
I can
So
only I can only imagine what it'll do for, filmmakers, screenwriters, um, artists. I can only imagine, and there's something to be said about showing up to the party too late, you know, where you I don't know what your mindset is, but if you think that it's not going to affect you, and then after the fact you're like, "Oh, well, I didn't know." What do you mean? What do you mean you didn't know? I can almost imagine probably about 70% of films that are developed will not get made. Because if it has anything in it that is contrary to um, their precious beliefs and their Project 2025, it's not going to get built. It's not going to get made. That film will never see production. So it affects us that way as well. People better wake up, man. That's all I got to say.
absolutely, I'm
Yeah.
like, when he sat up there on that podium and said windmills and birds, it's just too many birds dying, and eagles and the bald eagle. I'm like, you're serious, right? But we can't make this stuff up, y'all. I
No,
would
no.
play the clip for you, but I'm not gonna do that. I just cackled. I laughed at it the whole time. I'm like, this man is just coming up with stuff. Like, what are you gonna do? What's your policy?
Mm,
People want answers. One of his supporters asked him a very good question. Gas prices are going up. What are you going to do? Can you lower the gas prices? He's not a man that's going to keep his promise.
mm,
I can tell you that right now. He says he's going to be a dictator for one day. Ana Navarro from The View, and The View returns September 3rd next month. So she said this. She said, a dictator is not for one day. A dictator is forever.
Mm-hmm.
So when he passes on, God, or whatever happens to him, guess who it goes to? The man that has his relationship and affairs with his couch. And in the
Right.
whole entire circus, the man that has the brain worm in his brain, the one that had a dead bear cub and annihilated a whale, and his sex diary. That's who it's going to go to.
Mm-hmm.
That's who he has in his cabinet, along with Linda McMahon, who is one of the owners of WWE. That's who was
That's
going.
a
That's who he has in
that's a
his
hot
cabinet.
mess. That's a that sounds like a really bad um horror um oh, what's it called when you a spoof. That sounds like a really bad horror spoof.
I, I don't. Robert F. Kennedy. Before you were very liberal, but now you're anti VAX. You
Uh,
are. We know about you in the Bear Cub, and we know about the diary, and you having a brainworm, and you're supposed to be handling something that could be beneficial for millions of us Americans out here.
mm,
I don't want. I wouldn't trust him with an ingrown
mm.
toenail, let alone my livelihood.
Well, that was a plot from the beginning, and I honestly I saw through that the minute he started running. Some of the campaign um, pictures and marketing that they were doing, I was like, this is just a ploy, you know. And it's sad when you can see through such feeble tactics, but that's not everybody. And I think it's because, we're tasked with creating, so we see things differently. We see through things, and we are people. We're students of behavior. Um, it's critical to casting for film or for a TV project or whatever. It's critical to be able to, that mannerism speaks, the chemistry speaks, the reactions speak, and it has to communicate um, across the spectrum and through the lens. And if it doesn't, I mean, we've all been like, we don't believe the performance, that it wasn't believable. Well, why wasn't it? Okay. Um, was the chemistry off between the two talents? Um, was the person unprepared for the role? Um, was the role outside of their range? You know, and so when you're tasked with preparing a project, and you can honestly, a lot of times you're like, no, they're not good for the part. It's nothing against the person, they're just not good for the part. And so when he announced that he was running, I was like, boy, bye. That's straight up, a plot against trying to pull down the focus, or okay, so I've got so many people that are running with me as independent, however he was running, and now I'm going to switch my endorsement here because I feel that he's poised to win, and because of that, I'm going to receive you know corruption.
His family, the Kennedy family, JFK, I know is turning over in his grave right now. And the rest of his family was just like, they were disappointed in him.
Yeah.
And all because you wanted a job. Well, how it went first was Trump reached out to you and gave you a complimentary phone call
Mm.
and asked you to join his campaign. You just like, nope, nope, I'm going to stay in the race. You could have continued to do that. But then you reached out to Kamala Harris. So you wishy-washy. You reached out to her, and her team was like, kick rocks. No, we don't want anything to do with you. So then you went and meddled on and cozied on over back to Trump. And Trump is out here. Y'all think that that's going to help his campaign? The man has a brain worm inside his brain. We're not making this stuff up, y'all.
Mm.
So, yeah, this whole cabinet is going to be a circus if he gets elected. Like I said, I would not trust him with a bruised knee or an ingrown toenail or any part of my body,
Mm.
health-wise, because
Mm.
no, I listen to doctors and I listen to scientists, whereas you are you are against those things. You fit perfectly right in because all of y'all are weird. Along with JD Vance and his couch, if you know, you know.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
yeah, that's another thing. And the firefighters gave me so much joy this week when they booed him right off of that stage. I loved it so much. So
Mhm.
it brought me so much joy. You guys are getting your karma. If you changed your policies, you can appeal to people. But your policies are to control us. And I'm here to let you know, as a host of this platform, you can't control what comes out of this woman's mouth,
Mm.
because I'm always going to speak for the people. I'm always going to speak for black people, and I'm always going to speak mainly for women.
Mhm. Mhm.
So yeah, you can try to jail me and silence me if you want to in this election. I'm gonna give you hell. I'm gonna give you a fight,
Mm.
and so is every other journalist out here as well too. So that means
Yeah.
you're gonna try to jail Roland Martin. You're gonna try to jail Farron Cousins. You're gonna try to jail the Young Turks. You're gonna try to jail Joy Reid.
Of
You're
course.
gonna try to jail Reese Colbert, Clay Kane, all of these black platforms.
Mhm.
You're gonna try to jail us for giving our opinions, being the
Well,
black
I'll probably
voice.
shut them down first, and then when you find an alternative way to have your voice heard, then that's when you know they'll threaten with jail. And,
So we are
and
not
so,
going back. We're not going back to a
nah.
time where we were segregated. Black people didn't have a voice. Women didn't have a voice. And that's another thing that Project 2025 wants, is for women to stay home and the man to go to work. Queer people not to have a voice and be amplified and erase their existence. Let me
Mhm.
tell you something. They're not going anywhere. Queer people not going nowhere. Black people not going nowhere. We're not. You can't erase us. Our history is deeply embedded in the soil of this country because we built this
Yeah.
country
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we were the first here. So we fight back. This is a resistance. This is a resistance, y'all. And it starts by fighting back. We start by fighting back at that ballot box November 5th. That's how we fight back. So,
Well,
but if you want these hands, you can easily come and get these hands too, because we not gonna take it.
yeah, they
This
just
we are not our
no,
ancestors. This is a
no,
whole new generation out
no,
here.
no.
So
It'll be.
we
We'll
we
be
see some
back.
of y'all.
We'll be back on the boat, but not that boat.
Mm,
I'm talking about the boat with the chair.
that yeah, the Alabama boat fraud, and we just celebrated the anniversary of that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
we will gladly give you what you want and then some. But we're not
Mhm.
going back. She said it best. We're not going back to a time where women were told to stay silent, and queer people we didn't have a voice. We couldn't say the things that we wanted to say. We couldn't do the things that we wanted to do. We couldn't worship who we wanted to worship. You
Mhm.
want to put the commandments in the classroom. It's Christian white nationalism.
Mhm.
That's what it is. Y'all want us to worship who you worship, and if you do this, if you don't do this, then your skin will burn off, you're going to hell. Oh, if you don't follow the rules. Well, honey, guess what? I'm going to hell butt naked in some Louis Vuittons, okay? First thing, smoking.
Mhm.
I got time. I can fight all day.
Mhm.
So that's what they want. They want, if it's not done their way, then we're gonna punish you. We're gonna punish you. We want to control
Right.
you. That's what Trump's agenda is. Whereas Kamala is saying, hey, you have freedom to love who you love, marry who you want to marry, worship who you want to worship, and have access to the doctors you want to have access to, and not have the doctors check in with them. You got to check in with the president or the dictator of the United States on
Mhm.
what you do with your body and your business. When if it was the shoe on the other foot, let this
And
be women. Let this be us telling men what they need to do with their bodies.
well, they'd find
Or
a
y'all would just die.
they'd find a way
Y'all would just die.
they'd find a way to negate it. That's what would happen. You know.
And she asked one of them that question, and they was just like, when somebody says, they lying. You you
Mhm.
you don't even have the answer for it.
No, you're searching for it. Uh-huh. Well, stay tuned in, I guess, you know.
Absolutely. Make sure you guys, again, I'm going to keep encouraging y'all to get registered to vote. Me and my girlfriend just texted a few minutes ago. We are supposed to be doing a call, all women in South Carolina and North Carolina. And we are going to be trying to get women rallied to vote. So she's going to touch in North Carolina to get some women, and we're going to do this call. And we're going to talk about what's at stake here.
Mhm.
My focus is queer rights, reproductive rights, making sure that everybody gets proper health care. Because, listen, he's talking about gut and Medicaid, Medicare. And we all need that. Everybody, from Beyonce to who else? Usher. Everybody got a Medicaid card. Everybody, famous, not famous, whoever, everybody has a Medicaid card. Because when you go into the doctor, what is the first thing that receptionist at the desk asks for? Your insurance and your Medicaid card.
Mhm.
And we need health care. So if they got that, you're out on a limb.
Yeah.
Family members who are disabled, who served in the military, PTSD, who have autism, who have diabetes, pre-existing conditions, if they got SSI, that's it.
Hmm. Well, like I said, we just have to stay diligent and stay tuned.
Absolutely.
Um, and for me, um, you know, I'm gonna get back to work because, there's things that need to be said, there are things that need to be explored, and there are things that need to be exploited. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the time more than ever for all of us to use our voices, our platforms. Yes, you really do in the USA. In Australia, we have Medicare. Yes. So if he becomes dictator, that's over this entire country. And
Mm.
certain people can't even leave the country, flee their country and come to solace and for a better future for themselves and their family because they're under a dictatorship. They can't leave the country. So wake up,
Mm.
like Richard just said. We got to be diligent. We got to keep up this momentum. So far, the Dems are doing well. We got to keep this momentum up. I'm hopeful for now. But I got a feeling it's like a gut feeling. Something's telling me that the worst case scenario, he's gonna try to
Well,
pull the worst case
you have to
scenario. It's like
understand that, okay, once he lost, they've had 4 years to plot, scheme, put, move chess pieces, you know, and for the group for the better part of things, when people do that, there's an old adage that says if you're digging a hole for someone, dig two. And the first one's for you. So I'm reminded of a story of he was at the time supposed to be the world's best locksmith, and he was developing locks that were unpickable, chains that were unbreakable, and he fell out of popularity with the dictator, the king, and the king threw him in prison. And he was like, "Oh, pick the lock and escape." And when he looked down, it was one that he had developed. So you were a prisoner of your own invention. A lot of people don't wake up. That's exactly what they'll be, a prisoner of their own invention. Yeah.
and you have to understand this is what's at stake here. So we all need decent health care in this country, as beautifully diverse fashion said. Even in Australia, they have Medicare.
Hmm.
So If you don't care about I mean, you must be rich if you're going to go ahead and vote for him.
Yeah, well,
You have decent health care, you good, you're insured. And to the black ones out here that are stumping for him as well too, you do know that um, he said it in Nevada. He don't care about you. He cares about your vote. That's all that matters to him. So
well,
he cares about the price of Tic Tacs. So he can literally go in his house that has a gold toilet, everything gold in the bathroom, while everybody else in the American working class is out here working day in and day out, union workers, and people are getting laid off from their jobs. When he was president, the economy's in the worst shape in the world because we had a pandemic that he downplayed. When this clown got on stage and told us to inject ourselves with Lysol, that was the end for me right there. I'm like, okay, I can't even watch any of his press
was it
briefings
Lysol or
anymore.
bleach?
Bleach. When he told us to inject ourselves with bleach, and you could put a Reeve, and then you could nuke a hurricane, and I'm sorry, when has anyone ever tried to nuke a hurricane? And then they got moats, and then they got alligators, and then Hannibal Lecter, the King Hannibal. I mean, all sorts of stuff. He says, and I'm just like, this is who y'all want for y'all president,
Yeah.
black, and to the blacks that are out here, black men. If I haven't told you, Plies said it best.
Yes.
Plies said it brilliantly.
Mm-hmm.
He said, y'all need to get on board. Y'all, and I think the reason why some black men are skeptical and reluctant is because it's misogyny, it's patriarchy. They don't want a woman telling them what to do. They feel that a woman is going to tell them what to do. But I'm just like, you'll have your freedom under her. Under Trump, you ain't going to have no freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Under a dictatorship, you can't do squat. I mean, he's trying to take us to the Handmaid's Tales. As Richard stated in the beginning of this conversation, where the women were all dressed alike,
Mm-hmm.
covered from head to toe. So what's on the ballot right now? If you are a woman, your uterus is on the ballot. What's on the ballot right now is your ovaries. Your ovaries is on the ballot. What's on the ballot right now is your birth canal. Your birth canal is on the ballot. And I hate to be politically incorrect, but this is what's at stake here. And he bragged about overturning Roe versus Wade. So to the black women that are out here supporting him, once he's done, he's gonna discard you just like he did Diamond and Silk.
Oh yeah.
And what's his name? Homeboy that said 9999. Herman Cain.
Oh, he died though, didn't he?
Mm-hmm. And they
Yeah.
didn't call the family, didn't do nothing. He didn't call the family. The Gold Star family, we seen how he treated them during his presidency as well too. You ain't gonna get a phone call from his family. Cut, hang it up, flat screen. So y'all better wake up and pay attention to what's at stake here. And y'all think that he gave y'all a $1,400 check? And who was it? It was Jamel Hill. And she posted something that things black people need to know that are supporting Trump. He did not give you this. It was Dems and Congress who gave you this.
Well, I'm gonna put it like this. Okay, yes, it's $1,400 that you didn't have, but at the common rate, that 1,400 doesn't even pay 1 month's rent. You know, at these gas prices, you know, how much gas can you buy for $1,400? So you're willing to sell out the entire country over $1,400? You're willing to give up all of your rights for $1,400. Is that what it's worth?
Tap dance for that check while it's there.
It,
Tap dance for that check, honey.
it's you ain't gonna be tap dancing for long. It's $1,400. You know,
Unless you
it's
Justice Clarence Thomas, who makes millions of dollars, you you you're gonna be right in the same class with us if he becomes a dictator.
yeah.
Because Clarence Thomas is good. He makes millions.
It's crazy. He makes millions, and then there are donors that provide him with money that should not have been, but they're buying him. That's what he has sold his soul for. And we need to be cognizant of that. We need to be aware. We need to be aware of that. Yeah, I see Zaire has checked in. Hey, my man, how you been? He and I
Welcome to the
actually went
Matrix.
to we actually went to film school together. Yeah, he was
Really?
his focus was more on music. I started with music and then changed to film and entertainment. I that nah, I ain't gonna date myself, but something happened in music, and I was just looking. I was like, that's gonna change the entire landscape. Um, Mom and pop stores are gonna disappear. Um, Vinyl is gonna disappear. I was like, I don't know. But then, because I love the art of telling the story, I switched to film because film also encompasses a soundtrack. So, I get to pair my love for music with the love for telling a story. Yeah. But yeah, he and I, man, we actually drove from where I live to Fort Lauderdale every day. We would carpool together. So it's good to see that he's still doing well and still pushing the boundaries. Yeah.
And he says, good fam, just lifing. And the audacity of Ash. Local government is super important as well. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
State, local, and federal. And make sure. Oh, another thing, he wants to ban the Board of Education,
Yeah.
public education. He wants to gut that too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a part of their Project 2025 memorandum. So he trying to take us literally back to little house on the prairie, where
Lord.
we sit in the classrooms and all we know is the Bible
Mm-hmm.
from the want us to learn the Bible, your interpretation of what the Bible
Mm-hmm.
is. People should be free to worship. That's what's so beautiful about this country is that everybody is their own person.
Yeah.
Everybody worships who they wants to worship. Not everybody is. I mean, me growing up down here in the South, it was what I knew is, oh, if you wore red fingernail polish, you're going to hell. You're going to hell. You're going to hell. You're going to hell. That's what was taught to me, and I sort of rebelled. Out of
Mm-hmm.
all of my siblings, I must say I was the one that was the most rebellious. And
Wow.
I have four brothers and two sisters. Well, I wasn't really a bad kid, but I just, as far as style, as far as wanting my own identity, that's when I rebelled.
Mm-hmm.
My mom would tell me not to wear something, and I'd be like, red lipstick. Yeah, if you wear red lipstick, you're going to hell. Red nails, you
I
wear your nails as long as
never
mine, you're
heard
going to
that.
hell as
That
well.
is that's
Yeah,
absurd.
yeah. The worst case scenario. That's the type of Christians that they are.
Wow.
That see it. If you do this, you're an abomination. You're going to hell.
Hmm.
So that's what Trump's Project 2025 agenda looks like, and I broke it down for you.
I saw this meme that said, "Don't have a mouthful of you can't have a mouthful of scriptures and a heart full of hate. That does not a Christian make." Okay, so people need to understand you don't have heaven or hell to put nobody in, and
And you're not
because
God.
and because you don't, um, I really don't care about your judgment. And it took me a while to get there because we all want to be likable. We all try to, mm, we want people to look at us in a certain light. But listen, it's only when you realize who you are and for what purpose that you're here, that's when that's when you reach your maximum potential, you know. And so I've gotten to the point now where, look, live and let live. And why am I going to sweat the next person? That's not my life. I got enough stuff to deal with in my own life, So
Exactly. And that's for everybody. I had to wear granny panties, like practically Mormon status underwear. Knowledge, but yes, that's what I said. That's what they want. The Handmaid's Tales, women should be covered from head to
Mhm.
toe, and I'm pretty sure they're going to implement that. That's one of the predictions that I'm guessing, but I know that they took away women and queer people's rights to their bodies.
Mhm.
So I do know that they want to reverse that. They want to make it uh, a white man's agenda, shall I
Mhm.
say? A white man's agenda. And that agenda does not fit the everyday American people. Nobody wants to be controlled or in a
Yeah.
controlled government. And like Richard just said, you don't have a heaven or hell to place anyone.
No.
Which reminds me, didn't you cheat on your wife with a porn star?
Yeah, he did.
Don't you have 34 counts and now you have a case that has just been reopened and your sentence is September 18th.
Hmm.
So you don't have a heaven, a hell, or a mirror to turn on nobody but yourself.
My
You are the
question is,
same one who sat up
how is
there and
that even
said,
acceptable? That's my question. How is it acceptable?
but felons, black felons can't vote, but this fool can run. The same one who I still can't get over, who was bragging about windmill. Let me see if I can pull that clip up.
Oh my gosh.
I want y'all to hear it for yourself. Hear it from the horse's mouth.
Well, that's not the mouth of the horse.
Instead of playing this game with wind and it's ruining everything, killing all your birds, destroying the fields, all these gorgeous fields. You got windmills all over the place and you have birds. You want to see a bird cemetery? Just go under a windmill. You see thousands of birds dead. The bald eagle, if you kill an eagle, they put you in jail for years. And yet these windmills knock them out like nothing.
And that's who y'all want to put in
Mm,
office as commander in chief.
mm. But as I said, that's not the horse's mouth talking. That's the opposite end of the horse.
He definitely. Oh, that's
Yeah.
another thing. He said he can get away, and they let you grab her. You can grab a woman by her lady parts,
Hmm.
and you can get away with it. Well, I'm
Right.
letting you know if you grab this sister right here, because I'm a black woman, this
Mm-hmm.
sister fights back,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm 5'7", so you can easily come and get these hands. I don't fight. I'm not a violent person, but I will pick up a lamp or better yet, a folding chair. And what's so
Mm-hmm.
crazy is black man invented the folding chair.
Yeah, that is crazy, isn't it? He,
So
mm,
we can't make this
no,
stuff up, y'all. This is it's a
no,
lot on the line, and it
no.
starts at like someone said in the comments, state, local, and federal. So that means your local election. If you want to see change in Congress, it starts there. State, local, and
Well,
federal. So
there was it was revealed that the judge that threw out the um, conviction,
documents case,
the
Judge
the
Eileen Cannon. Hmm.
no, not the documents, but the conviction for the officers in Breonna Taylor's death, he was put in office by frickin' Reagan, and still to this date is now affecting, you know, policy. So state, local, and federal. If we do not become proactive and stop being reactive, we're gonna have a problem. You know, I mean, how many times you can ask your followers, how many times you've been to a local, um, city council meeting?
Election,
Yeah,
a local election, city council meeting, school board, get involved in your community.
they're talking about school board. That stuff affects your kids.
Oh yeah, because
City.
K through 12, he wants to gut that.
Yeah, you
Complete.
talking about, city council. City council, affects policy that affects your neighborhoods. You know, and you don't if you're not unaware. If you're unaware, and something happens, she's like, "Well, I don't agree with this. I don't agree with that." But yeah, but you weren't there to put a stop to
Oh, you go every month, Nolly? I'm fighting
it.
with my city council, mayor, and local cops right now. Fools don't know the law for ish. And you know who else did that? What's his name? Homeboy. Gary Chambers Jr.
Mm,
That's somebody. That's the type of energy that we need to
yeah,
have. We won't have to, like Nolly just said in the comments, show up and show out to
yeah.
these meetings. And it starts at that ballot box too.
Well, I'll
So
say,
make sure that
I'll,
you're
s-
voting in your state
I'll, s-
elections.
I'll say to her, they don't like me either. They don't like me at all, you know.
Because
But
we need to
hey,
have something to say. They don't like it.
no, and the thing is that when you're informed, you don't go in there and just just be rattling off. Spend some time, inform yourself. You walk in there and you're informed, they can't listen. They can't. Number one, there's nothing they can do about it because it's not like you're unarmed. Number two, um, by being succinct in handling yourself in front of the panel, you can shut them down. You can shut them down. I mean, I had an opportunity. Well, it wasn't an opportunity. They called me into a meeting regarding code compliance. Um, but you got the right one today, you know. So you summon me there, and I get there, and I'm sitting. I'm sitting in the in the seats waiting to be called, and I get tapped on the shoulder by law enforcement, and I'm like, "Can I help you?" And he's like, "Can you step outside with me for a moment?" And I'm like, "Okay." I get out there, and he says, "We got a call that says that you were here to start some trouble." And I said, "You said what?" And he repeated it. I'm like, "Okay, well, first and foremost, you said it was me and someone else. So where's the other person? Secondly, where are my accusers? I have the right to face them. Where are they?" "Well, I'm just here to try and keep the peace." I said, "Listen, I don't even want to be here. And had you not summoned me, messed up my day, I wouldn't be here. So if a citizen answering a summons is deemed to be someone who's problematic, then you may as well put the cuffs on me right now because I will be heard." He said, "No, no, no, we don't got to go on and all." I said, "Well, then I suggest you let me be about my business and go about my way." He left, returned once you know, the hearing started, and the hearing was headed by a magistrate. The magistrate is judge, jury, and prosecutor. He's all three. You can't do that. That's unconstitutional. Okay, so that's first thing. Second thing is the things that they were, coming at me about was, and I said to them, I said, "You're allowing a neighbor to utilize the means of this particular um, um, process to use it as a means of harassment." And I said, "And that makes you liable. Stay off my property." I ain't heard from them since. And because it's taped live. I was in the gym working out, and folks over there, pointing at me and stuff. And I'm like, what I do something wrong? I'm checking I'm like, I split my pants or something? So finally they came over and said, "Dude, we saw you on live TV." It's like, "Man, you let them have it." I'm like, "Hey, listen, you're not finna railroad me like that." You know what I mean? We all
Now,
have rights. Then
says she loves you, you have the best guess, and using it as a weapon. Yeah, they'll
yeah.
try that.
Mhm.
And it was one. I was watching one video where this black man, these police showed up at his house, and I'm like, "Was what? Is there a problem?" He's like, "Well, is there a problem here? Why? See, y'all go out here, and y'all have already starting to do. We see the things they're starting to do. What happened in Florida, where they raided those activists' homes who were going to vote in this election, or was it Texas? What? Texas? It was in Texas where they
Mhm.
raided their homes. So I'm like, y'all are trying to intimidate people. We know the law. We know the policies, and this by far is illegal. What y'all are doing, it's not right. But we know why you're doing it,
Right.
to try to silence and suppress and disenfranchise our votes and our
Yeah.
voices. Again, like I said, this is a whole new generation. We are not our ancestors.
No. Mm-mm. You know, my pop taught me better than that. You know, I was like, listen, boy, you don't fear nobody. I don't care who they are. And he was military, you know, so I don't care who they are. You don't fear nobody. And he said, now, I want you to be intelligent. And he said, no, I want you to reach for reason first. Always try and reason with someone. He said, but if that fails, if you cannot reason with a man, he said, you stand up and you deliver. That stuck with me my entire life. That's my motto. I will try and reason with you, but if you get unreasonable, you know, if it's something I can walk away from, I'm gonna walk away from it. But if you paint me in a corner, you talking about catching some hands. You ever seen Tasmanian Devil? Yeah, you know. And so
Again,
I'd rather not take it there. That's why I love my art form, because I can express, you know, those ideals and those things without having to go there. And then you leave it up to the audience. You know, if you give the average person, if you give them enough information, they should be able to glean what's best and what's right for them. And not everything is for everyone. And we need to be able to accept that too, because you can't force what is your decisions for your life on someone else. That's intrusion, and you know, it just won't fly. You know, if you like, let's say you like apple pie, I don't like apple pie. You gonna force me to eat it? Then I don't want apple pie. I might like peach cobbler. You know what I mean? So you give me peach cobbler, I'm happy all day. But you can't force me to eat what I don't want. And this is the problem: is they're trying to force feed the entire population to believe as they believe, move as they move, and do as they say, clearly not as they do. Because if you dig in them closets deep enough, it ain't just a skeleton. There's probably a graveyard in there. Okay? So,
now it says I filed a cease and desist with all city employees and city officials. And I see you, Zahir and Nali. I'm gonna have to give y'all my Facebook so that y'all can follow me, because I'm maxed out on here. It won't let me follow anybody else back. And you know, when you reach a certain number on Instagram, you maxed out, it won't let you follow back. But I got all you guys' follows. So if you want my Facebook, I'll give it to you, and you'll be able to see the talk show page as well too, with the clips from my interviews and everything. But they talked shit for 3 days, haven't seen or heard. Yeah, you have to get up and who was it? I think it was Baynard Rustin. He said we have to be the good kind of troublemakers in
yeah,
our community, the angelic kind of
yeah.
troublemakers. So that means making some noise, being rebellious.
Mhm.
And right now, this is a resistance with us fighting against fascism, fighting back against racism, fighting back, if you're a woman, against misogyny. All of these things we're having to fight on a daily.
Mhm.
And as a host of this platform, we have to oh my God, we have to continue to use our voice and the resources to be the voices of the people and say the things that they're welcome. And see, I welcome opinions. I'm not above reproach,
No.
but so far I've been doing it in a way where it's nuanced, and I try to make sure that I get my point across, or I'm not overshadowing anybody. So I'm thankful to have a voice and a platform. And that's what I said to Richard in the beginning, what Nina Simone said, which is the job of the artist is to reflect the times. So, and she was big on fighting against
Yeah.
racism. She was big on fighting for freedom. She said, what does freedom mean to me? No fear. And right now, for us fighting for our freedom, fighting for us to be able to love who we want to love, marry who we want to marry, do whatever we want to do with our bodies, do even the resources, the luxuries to be able to have the First Amendment rights to speak freely and get our opinions out. That he wants to take that away. He wants to take that's in the Constitution. You want to take the First Amendment away? You want to take away people's, but you know that would go for your base too. Because see, you speak to hatred, you speak to bigotry, you speak to misogyny, you speak to homophobia, you speak to transphobia, you speak to xenophobia, you speak to all of the phobias and then some.
Well,
And
my latest project was entitled Lawless. Um, and it dealt with a lot of social issues. We took those and we turned them into episodes. And I had cast this guy as an officer, and he was a hero cop, and he become addicted to that. And but then as the pressure began to rise, he, started making mistakes, and he ended up, and this was a catalyst for the show. He ended up shooting a kid. It was accidental shooting, but he started to cover it up. But the kid was the kid of a sitting senator. He was the grandkid of a sitting senator, and his grandmother worked at the Pentagon. And the proverbial shitstorm that came from the grandfather's grief caused him to form um, a task force, and their job was to root out corruption no matter where it was. So when we shot the scene where this kid was actually shot, and I wanted it on camera. I wanted it raw. I wanted that we fitted him with squibs so that when the trigger pulled, you saw the blood, the explosion of flesh. I wanted it on camera because I wanted them to feel the visceral act. And when we filmed it, after the second take, the guy that I cast was like, "I can't do this." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "I can't do this." And so I shut the production down so that we could have a teachable moment. And I said
yeah,
to him, I said, "The reason why you can't do it is because you're worried about how people will view you. Okay. You're also your conscience is shook by the fact that you saw in live motion, even though it's not real, you saw in live motion what it would look like, what it would feel like to take an innocent life." And I said, "And your conscience is convicting you because this has happened in real time. And maybe then, because you were so far removed, it didn't affect you as it did now." I released him from set and we had to recast the position, but it was, and I said, that is exactly what I'm trying to deliver with this series. I want you to feel it. I want it, I want it so in your face that the next time you hear about some person, whether male, female, boy, girl, adult, child, losing their life to a senseless act of violence like that, that it will make you react in a manner that is, that has you to say enough. Enough. You know, there's something called a fiduciary responsibility. Um, in the finance market, I worked as an investment banker for 7 years. Okay. The number one um, caveat was know your client. Now, I don't care what you put your client in. If it didn't suit them, they can make money and still turn around and sue you because it should not have been something that um, belongs in their portfolio. Well, law enforcement, if they don't have that in place, they should, because a fiduciary responsibility means that you're held in a higher standard. See, as a investment banker. I'm trained. I'm supposed to know the markets. I'm supposed to know, what I'm putting my clients in, and I'm supposed to not do any harm financially. Okay? So if you walk around with a loaded weapon on your hip, you should have a fiduciary responsibility to the public, and you should be held at a higher rate of accountability because that's the job, you know. So if that were in place, I mean, there was a time when you used to see films or even TV shows where a cop would, you know, shoot a kid or shoot someone that was innocent, and they'd be all tore up. They'd have to be put on desk duty permanently because they couldn't draw their weapon anymore. Remember the scene in um, Die Hard, the first Die Hard? He was riding a desk when Bruce Willis' character called him. He was riding a desk, and when Bruce asked him, when he probed and asked him, "Yo, you seem to handle that car pretty good. Why are you riding a desk?" And he told him that he had shot a kid and that he could not pull his weapon anymore. That's not the case nowadays. For you to be able to kill someone's kid and then report to duty, after you're released from, paid leave, something's wrong with you.
And shout outs to Marcos Luis. He is the host of One Mic Night podcast. He says, yes, meaning you have to be more informed and are an expert in the field and using your knowledge accordingly. And Ali,
Mm-hmm.
she also agrees. They should have to carry their own liability insurance like a doctor. Gotta have a malpractice injury. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Instead, they have immunity.
Oh, that's another thing. They granted him immunity.
Mm-hmm.
That's where y'all messed up. Because that
Well, not
means
only
that
that, but he's saying he's going to give law enforcement blanket immunity
oh
from
yeah.
prosecution.
So you know what? Guess what? Guess what happens if you give this man, you've granted this man immunity, and if he gets elected, he becomes a dictator. He can organize the military and the police. See how we're protesting for Palestine and
Yep.
Gaza right now?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Guess what can happen? If you are not for what they stand for, they can lock you up. And we seen, remember when the protests broke out for George Floyd?
Mm-hmm.
What happened? Yeah? Remember these black unmarked vans that were
Yep.
snatching protesters up?
Yep.
What you think gonna happen to you?
People better wake up.
Which is absolutely the detriment to society.
Yeah.
Yes,
So,
absolutely. And I'm
but
glad that Joe Biden cracked the whip and said nobody is above the law. You are not above the law. You are not a king. And that's what he wants. You want us to bow down and call you King Trump? That'll never happen. Especially after the audio I just played.
Yeah.
Out here talking about windmills and birds and Hannibal Lecter and what else has he said crazy this week? He called military veterans suckers and losers.
Wow. Well,
So if you are
we
military,
actually we previewed Lawless here locally because some of the cast was nervous about their performances. We had a lot of new talent on set, and they were like, "Oh my God!" I'm like, "Listen, if I say cut and I don't say let's do it again or back to one, you're fine." But people were nervous, so we previewed the show here locally at the local Portuguese club, and unbeknown to me, there was 2 law enforcement officers in the audience, and afterwards we did interviews, and she came to talk to me, and she was like, "At first, I thought that your purpose was to bash law enforcement." I said, she said, "I was angry. I wanted to walk out." She said, "But then when when you opened up the explanation through the lens and that message message sat on me. She said, I looked over at my daughter and I was like, damn. And that is exactly what we wanted. So right there, she changed right there in her seat. But what did I tell you earlier? I can tell you things through story, through film. I can't tell you to your face. And you can't argue with me when you're watching it. You got to
Okay.
let it sit. And that's what happened with her, and it changed her perception of the entire show.
Absolutely. Um, so here it says I have a great idea for a screenplay, fam. The plot and everything, I'm going to run it by you later. If there's 12 bad cops among 2,000 good cops, but the good cops do nothing about the bad, well, you got 2012. Got you.
That's a fact. That's a fact. Because silence gives consent.
And silence is complacent. So if, yes, I heard you, she's outside, but that was my mom, y'all, ringing the bell. But this is the thing that gets me right here. You're just now coming out, and we're seeing the TikTok videos. You guys are saying things about it, but why didn't you say anything when it happened in broad daylight? Why are you saying nothing now? You wait a few days after and you do a TikTok video.
Hmm.
So that lets you know right then and there. But
I think some people too, I think some people are just numb. I think some people have just tuned out. They're just tired. They just don't want to hear it anymore.
yes,
But that's to your
I'm doing
detriment.
an interview. Go ahead, Richard. I'm sorry.
It's okay. But like I said, it's to your detriment. You can't tune out. You can't afford to. You can't acquiesce. You can't, they're going to do what they want to do anyway, so it doesn't matter what my vote doesn't matter. You can't do that. You can't. You got to keep fighting. Even when you get tired, you got to keep fighting, you know? So, um, I don't know. I don't know what the, I don't know what the solution is for those who have sort of, tuned out. But I just know that those of us that are about that, we need to keep busy. We need to shake them and wake them up if necessary, poke them, prod them. You just gotta stay on it. Gotta keep your foot on the gas pedal.
Yeah. And these what? Oh my God, y'all are laughing at me. Yes, I'm like, she's ringing the bell, and I just got off the phone with her a few minutes ago. I know she's got stuff out there, but we're gonna wrap up here, Fashion Dolls. Before we wrap up, again, we've touched on a lot of things in this conversation today that we're
Mhm.
thinking about, that we need to think about this next few 70, I want to say 75 days left, 74, one of the two. The time is winding down now.
Mhm.
Time is winding down. So it's up to us. Again, we go to the ballot box November 5th. If you're in South Carolina, I know down here, our absentee, check and see if you can get in early. Because I know a lot of people are not going to want to stand in those long lines. Absentee down here in the part of South Carolina where I'm at starts October 21st to November 2nd.
Mhm.
So make sure that you are registered to go to these polls, check your information. If you are in some of the swing states like Texas, Georgia, Wisconsin, Nevada, which they are both tied neck and neck in, it is imperative that you get out here and get unlikely voters. You have family members who just are uncertain or unsure. You got to convince them to come on board
Yeah.
and get all in it. If you are not political, you will get political after reading Project 2025.
Mhm.
And how I got, because I used to talk about politics and all the time when the election was going on. Before it didn't even happen, I was covering politics. But I took a break and I stopped talking about it and I became complacent. But my colleague, Bubs the God, woke me up when he read the Project 2025 memorandum.
Mhm.
And that's what said, okay, now I'm seeing what they're trying to do and what's at stake here. I got to say something about it. So the past few days, I've been keeping you guys informed on what's going on. as far as this election goes. Um, my grandma's even going to be voting. She's 80 years old and she's going to be voting by mail this year.
Mm,
So we got to get her registered.
yeah.
So it's important.
Yeah.
We tell our family members about what's at stake. And I texted my mom's sister, my aunt about it, and we were saying how we had to get the whole family together to vote. So you got to tell your family members what's at stake. Sit them down and have a conversation. Share that slide that I posted, breaking down what he's trying to take away and do his second term. And Nolly says, Richard, I would love it if you would join us for the police accountability report too. I know you feel like I know you'll feel like you are right where you need to be.
Well, I'm there. I'm there. You know.
So before
Uh,
we close, go ahead, Richard. I'm sorry.
just shoot me the information where I need to be and when, and I'll and let's do it.
So before we close out, Richard, what are some gems that you would like to tell the audience before we head off into the weekend? And all that stuff going on out there, y'all heard me. So I told y'all it's a balance.
It is. I would say, listen, stay informed, keep moving forward, keep your mind open, and don't fall for the okey doke. You know, investigate. I mean, listen, there are things that you may think you know today, and tomorrow it's not what you thought it was. You know, there's a great line in Men in Black, the first one, where he sells Will's character. He said, I think he said, 1,000 years ago they thought the world was flat. He said, 500 years ago, and he gave another, example of what we thought was. And he said, and 15 minutes ago, you thought you were alone on this rock. He said, imagine what you'll know tomorrow. So basically what he's saying is that knowledge moves forward. And if you're not moving forward in knowledge, then you're stagnant and you're standing still. And if you're standing still, you're dead already. So that's my jewel for the weekend, going into the weekend. You guys, follow me on IG. Also, check out my website, blacktriadentertainment.com. It lists the projects that are coming up for the next year. I'm hoping to release Lawless next year, second quarter. Lawless ain't gonna be no joke. It's gonna make some folks mad. It's going to make you cry. Um, it'll make you think, but more importantly, the entertainment will educate you.
And I'm going to add on to what Richard just said. Today's final thought comes from Richie Norton. And he says this: you deserve a circle of inclusion and influence, but it's up to you to create
Ooh.
it. So now more than ever, we all have to work
Mm-hmm.
together. We have to be inclusive.
Mm-hmm.
If we want to get things done and make things happen, we got to work together this next few days in election cycle. Nolly says that you're going to be busy.
I stay busy. I love busy.
We got to.
Mm-hmm.
Now's the time more than ever for us, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, Marcos has a question for you. We can submit pics and resumes to you as actors.
Absolutely. I don't know if you were tuned in earlier. I'm actually looking to launch a program or a course that will help filmmakers get their films developed, produced, and distributed. And those films will need talent. And if you're serious, now, I'm going to stress, if you're serious about if you're serious about the what do we call it, your craft, because you got to be serious, you know what I mean, then I can give you and help you to easily transition into this industry, but you got to put in the work. I've and listen, my resume speaks for itself. Very first film I produced is still, it's on Tubi right now, but it just left Amazon. Okay, shot that in 2005. There's not one actor in Love Trap that is recognizable, not one. They were all local talent, and even the soundtrack is all local talent. So 2005 until 2024, and it's still streaming. You do the math. That's a ton of exposure if you're a talent. And the exposure is what gets you, additional work. So without the exposure, no one knows who you are.
And look at there, people are already submitting in the comments. OMG, that's awesome. My friend just finished a great film, and I'm working on my second documentary. Marco says, I'm a filmmaker and actor, SAG already, but I'm always looking for a good project.
Well, shoot me information, bro. We got them in spades. We got good projects in spades.
All right, fashion dolls. So, do we have any last minute questions? I have to go and help my mom put up the groceries. Y'all kids, she's out there ringing the bell and stuff. There's a lot going on. So, I had to go out here and see what's going on. But
Okay.
I want you guys to continue to everything Richard just said, as well as myself. Stay focused and do not get distracted.
Yeah.
So, I love y'all, and I want y'all to, if you're not, again, I'm going to keep pressing y'all up and down. Encourage your family to get registered to vote. Go to vote.org, check your voter registration, because they are already starting to purge votes. As what's his name in Texas said, 1 million votes. They just finally went missing. And I put that story up. It's a lot. Y'all need to go and check out on my page. It's a lot. From the Supreme Court blocking, it's a lot. Make sure that you're following Style by Stevie Daytime. And stay tuned. We will have you covered on everything here on my platform, election, fashion, all of that, and so much more. And I love y'all. Y'all have a safe and great weekend, and be on the lookout for the September lineup for next week's shows. I love y'all, and take care.
Take care.